Hello, everyone. I just want to give you an overview of the post-secondary process and information you might need to complete your post-secondary enrollment option application if you weren't able to make it at the presentation or want to review information. So just as a reminder, PSEO, Post-Secondary Enrollment Options, is a program offered through the state of Minnesota that allows high school students to take college courses in a dual enrollment fashion, meaning that they take classes at a college that meet the high school requirements at no additional cost. So tuition, fees, textbooks are all covered. Students can take it part-time or full-time. And again, students will earn credit at both institutions while taking these courses if they pass them. And then students are allowed to take traditional online PSEO courses, or they can take, on-campus or online PSEO courses. Just as a reminder, we really want to encourage this piece of it as you assess whether or not this is a good fit for you or this is a good time for you to take a PSEO course is it really is a student-driven, independent process, meaning that students carry all the information and carry all the execution of the pieces to be a successful PSEO student. Not only do they need to be academically sound, but those soft skills like communication and proactive learning and being able to be a flexible learner in different workspaces is really an important piece of a successful PSEO experience. So it's a really good time to talk about those and think of whether or not you are ready for that level of independence in your education. So some other things that we just want you to consider as you decide whether or not PSEO is a good option for you is whether or not you're looking for more of a traditional high school experience where you're here 8:20 to 3 o'clock, or if you're looking for more of a college experience where the classes might be a little bit quicker, a little bit faster paced because they're done in a semester and not in a year, but you are afforded a little bit more flexibility in your schedule. We want you to be paying attention to your yearly schedules, the start dates and end dates of college courses versus the start dates and end dates of your high school courses. Additionally, you might need to work over MEA at PSEO classes, or you might need to attend your PSEO classes over spring break because they don't necessarily coordinate with the high school schedule. We do not provide transportation as part of PSEO. And we want to just make sure that you are really, again, reinforcing those communication skills. So as the captain of your own experience here, you need to be able to communicate not only with your high school, but also with your PSEO advisor and your PSEO professors as you kind of work through balancing all the schedules and needs of everything. If you are a part-time student, you need to remember that, that you will be required to work through your high school schedule. So if you have a class that is at 9 o'clock on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at PSEO, and it goes until 10:30, it means that you can't take classes on any day at the high school until probably 11 o'clock. So it's just something to keep in mind that you are managing two different schedules when you are building your PSEO schedule, and that can be difficult for students. So we just want to make sure that you're aware of that. Often we get the question about whether or not AP or PSEO is the best option. And there is no perfect answer to this. A lot of it depends on what your hopeful destination is after high school. Generally speaking, if you are applying to a regional university, schools in Wisconsin, Minnesota, the Dakotas, Iowa, taking PSEO classes is a very good option. It allows you to get some credits that transfer at a high rate, and it really doesn't necessarily impact admissions necessarily. However, if you are looking at schools with a higher selectivity rate and are outside of our region, we often do recommend advanced placement courses as you will be competing with kids nationally for those spots at those selective universities, and AP is kind of the gold standard across several different schools. Another factor could be in your decision is whether or not you get into PSEO courses at a college like the University of Minnesota or at a community college like Normandale. That could impact your admission at a selective university down the road. So it's just something you want to ask questions of that school that you're thinking of and consider as you are making those decisions. Another important thing to consider, I'd say probably this is one of the most important things to consider, is that grading applies in both settings. So whatever grade you get at a college for a course that replaces a high school course will be transferred to your high school course here. So let's say it's a little bit more difficult, you end up getting a C. That's worth a full year C here at the high school, which can really impact GPA. And additionally, if you were to get a C as a junior in high school, that impacts your college transcript for the rest of your life. There is no way to change that that transcript, your GPA has been set. So we just want students to be aware that, again, making sure you're the right fit so that you can not have negative implications down the road for decisions you made when you were in high school. As far as actual transferability, we encourage students to just use this website we listed here, transferology.com. It'll allow you to enter in specific classes with specific colleges to see if those classes will transfer. I will definitely say, though, if you are planning on going to school within the region and going to one of the public institutions with transfer agreements, there's a high transfer rate. So in regards to the general timeline for PSEO, we're in it right now. The information will be released here mid-February by most colleges. Usually around Valentine's Day is what we say. So that's why we're giving you the information right now. And the application window opens up, and they have various deadlines. University of Minnesota is widely known as the one with the tightest deadline here in April, but some of them extend well into June. Usually your admission decision, again, depends on the school that you applied to, but they will let you know if you've been let in, and then they will give you the next step. So they will tell you need to attend an orientation or you need to register for courses and finalize your schedule. So that kind of happens here in the spring. You can expect for most community colleges to hear from your PSEO institutions pretty quickly within a month, but the University of Minnesota historically has delivered their decisions about PSEO the last weekend in May. Meaning that you would do your orientation in June, and then you would probably choose your classes in August after all of the students who attend the University of Minnesota have chosen their classes. When the entire process is done, you're going to go ahead and submit an official schedule to your counselor so that we can confirm things on our end and get rid of the classes that you're hoping to replace here at the high school. So the question usually is, where can we attend PSEO? There's a variety of schools that have a PSEO agreement with the state of Minnesota. The full list can be found by clicking on this link right here in the presentation. But we would say the most common places for students to do PSEO is going to be Normandale Community College, the U of M, Minneapolis College, Hennepin Technical College, and then Crown College. Crown College primarily because of its location and its proximity to Westonka High School. Again, admissions criteria and processes vary by each university, so that's kind of why we want to share all the pieces with you. So if you're looking at Normandale, you can see the eligibility in the upper right-hand corner, but they have an online application, and you simply find that online application by Googling Normandale Community College, PSEO, and they will walk you right through those steps. So you're going to complete their application. They're going to have you set up an account. Please keep track of your account information because it is very important to have. And then they're going to ask you to upload 2 documents to the document uploader on their website. The first one is going to be your high school transcript, which can be downloaded from Skyward. And the second one is going to be the MDE PSEO NOSR. It's known as the Notice of Student Registration. That is basically the contract that we use to communicate between us and the college, and we'll talk about that in a second. If certain eligibility isn't met through Normandale, they will ask for additional test scores to try to find a way to get you in there. And again, they do require a mandatory PSEO orientation before you can register with your classes or meet with your PSEO advisor. Minneapolis College is very, very similar. They have a priority deadline of April 14th, and their final deadline is June 13th, but the state of Minnesota's deadline is June 1st, so we're going to stick with that. But you're going to go ahead and submit an application online, submit all those forms via the document uploader, and then again attend the orientation. You can see there in the upper right-hand corner that their eligibility criteria is just a bit different. University of Minnesota Twin Cities, their application opens up on Monday the 16th and closes on April 15th. It is a much more selective process at the University of Minnesota. You can see there they have about 1,700 applications per year, and the average GPA for applicants has been a 3.92. Only about half the students who apply actually get in. But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to request an application through their website. It's a little bit different. They will ask for a 13-digit MARS number, which is something that we have available to you. So you can just email your counselor for that number. We'll give it to you. Then you're going to receive an email with the application link that you're going to go ahead and complete. You're going to also start assembling those two main documents, the NOSR and your transcript. Then you're going to upload those pieces after you've completed your application, and then they will send a confirmation email about whether or not you got in late May. There are 2 information sessions if you are getting this information before February 18th. There's one on the 18th of February and March 25th. Go to the PSEO website for the University of Minnesota and you can go ahead and register for those information sessions. They can specifically talk about what classes you are able to take while you're there, what the process will look like, some of those questions that many of you might have. Hennepin Tech, very similar. There's a video on their website. You're going to go ahead and complete the application, which is the same application as it is for Normandale, as it is for MCTC. And again, we will want to remind you to complete that STAR ID process so that you can go ahead and have your login information. And then they're going to have you submit a high school transcript and the NOSR through their specific process, which is an email to their person. So let's talk a little bit about the NOSR, the Notice of Student Registration. It is essentially the contract between all 3 places, the student, the high school, and the college. It is required for you to move forward with any registration, and it is required each semester. You will be communicated with the school about those requirements to submit, and so it is very important that as a student you are checking your email regularly to get that information, because that is not something that will be shared by the high school. So there are 3 parts of the NOSR that we're going to go through with right now. And again, the hard copy of the NOSR, the digital copy that you'll use is available on every school's PSEO website. It'll look like this. You can go ahead and download it, and then you're going to go ahead and fill out your information. So this is the part that you and your family is going to do. Just basic information. The post-secondary institution is going to be the one that you are applying to. And then the date there at the bottom is the date that you submitted to your counselor. You can go ahead and leave that top number blank because you haven't been accepted yet. And just make sure that when you are submitting this form, you are choosing the 2627 form there at the top. They will not accept an old form. So once you have that part done, you're going to take this digital form and you're going to send it off to your counselor. And we as your counselor are going to complete this part. So we have all these pieces. We are basically indicating that you will reduce your schedule here at the high school to take college courses, and we will sign agreeing that we're going to make that tuition agreement for them to cover the cost of tuition. Lastly, this part is only completed by the college after you've done your registration and have chosen your classes. This is actually completed and sent back to the high school so that we have confirmation of your classes, but there's nothing you need to do here on this. In fact, many colleges, when you download the form, don't even include this piece, but if they do, you do not need to do anything with it. So some other things that you want to make sure that you consider as you move forward is that it is the responsibility of the PSEO student to provide their high school counselor with a list of registered courses at the beginning of each term. That is how we're going to be able to make sure that you're on track for graduation. That's going to confirm things like your placement in National Honor Society, and also going to make sure that we're keeping you on track again for graduation. It is very common for PSEO students, effective, successful PSEO students, to spend a good chunk of time in communication with their counselor to make sure that they're meeting all the requirements and staying on track with whether or not the classes meet their requirements. Just as a reminder, if you're a senior, we do not administer a high school diploma until we get those final PSEO grades. They usually come in plenty of time, but it is something that you want to be aware of, that if you were delayed in getting your grades done or delayed in getting a class done before graduation, we would not be allowed to give you your diploma until those pieces were done. Another piece to consider is that, a lot of you still want to be involved here at the high school while you are a PSEO student. The best way to do that is to stay on track on the informational sources that we give you. So your high school email will include information about things like graduation or cap and gown ordering or scholarship night or homecoming. And then we also tend to post those things on Schoology as well. It's really important that you make a regular habit to check your school email and the school website for those information that you might miss by not being here in the building. Just as a reminder, the post-secondary institution determines the admission standards by which you are accepted and which courses that you can take. In addition, they also are in charge of determining your eligibility to continue. So if a student doesn't meet the PSEO requirements in their first semester, they might be told that they're suspended and can't move on to the second semester. If you have questions about academic progress or your parent has questions about academic progress, that is something that you need to work with directly with the PSEO institution on. You need to work directly with the professor on and the PSEO advisor on to get those questions answered. We as counselors don't have any jurisdiction over what's occurring on those college campuses. Just as a reminder, students need to attend the PSEO courses according to the PSEO schedule, which can conflict with sports here, which can conflict with hour breaks here. So it's just something to be aware of. And once students are admitted to their PSEO program and meet the minimum academic requirements, they don't need to reapply. They can just continue on at the same institution. Just as a reminder, these are the tests that students must complete each semester. They must complete that NOSR every single term. So if you are a current 10th grader and you are going to do PSEO for junior and senior year, it means you're going to fill out 4 of those terms before you graduate, or 4 of those forms before you graduate. Again, every student must submit a PDF copy of their schedule each term to their high school counselor for verification. And all students should submit a final PSEO grades to their counselor at the end of each grading term. We do tend to get those from the colleges after the fact, but if students want to move the process along to confirm their transcript for graduation, we do appreciate if they send it to us. If there are any changes in your schedule or in your grades or in your progress in your PSEO classes, it is really important that students communicate with the counselors so that we are aware and can kind of help in front of something if an issue were to arise. So just as a reminder, we have currently 84 students doing PSEO this year. So out of the 1,000 kids in the building or so, about a tenth of them, that's probably even less than that, are taking PSEO courses. Most of them are in 12th grade, 85%, and 15% are in 11th grade. Mostly students are doing part-time, but a few are just doing full-time. We wanted to share the grade breakdown of first semester of this year so that you're aware of kind of what students are getting. So a good chunk of students are getting 119, are getting A's, about 119 of them are. But we did have about 60 students, I'm sorry, not 60, let's see here, 19 plus 4, 23, 31 students who got C's, D's, F's, or withdraws. Now, I will say that a C isn't the end of the world, but it does really start your college transcript with a 2.0, which can be a struggle for future endeavors. And also it can impact things like NHS or sports eligibility. So we just want to make sure that you're aware that it isn't always a walk in the park, and we want to just make sure that you're ready to do that. So if you have any additional questions, we highly encourage you start with the PSEO website of the college you are looking at. You can also look at the Department of Ed's PSEO reference guide on their website, and then you can meet with us if you have questions. But the main first meeting with your counselor is going to be after you've completed your application and you have your first part of your NOSR completed, and then we'll kind of take it from there. Thanks so much for your time.